Hey, welcome back. In this video, we'll try to uncover some of the additional general concepts in typical business works container edition. Groups enable developers to put one or more activities together and configure the group as needed. Groups may look like these rectangle boxes around the activities which you wanted to put inside of them. There are two types, one without conditions which are non-repetitive and other with conditions which are repetitive. Scope is a simple group with no custom behavior. We can use it in order to take only single error transition from group of activities. Critical section is another non-repetitive group which is used to synchronize jobs so that only one job is executing at any given point of time. Groups with conditions are repetitive. They are also called as loops. And different types of groups with conditions are for each, which loop certain activities for a specified number of iterations with a counter and has a start and end value. Iterate is another group which will iterate on a variable list. For example, any repetitive segment from an XML, we can repeat for all the segments that comes in the input. Error is a loop until a specified condition evaluates to true. The condition is evaluated after the group is executed once. And repeat on error is same as repeat, but it only repeats when any error occurs in certain activities which is inside of that group. And while is also same as repeat group, but while will execute the condition before executing that particular group for the first time. Whereas repeat will execute a group for one time, then the condition is evaluated, which means repeat will at least execute one time, whereas while will execute only when the condition is true. So if the condition is initially false, then that group is not executed when we use while. So we can use while or repeat based on the business requirements. And properties are classified as application properties, module properties, shared module properties, and process properties. Their hierarchy is like application properties are on the top level, module properties are intermediate level, and process properties are at the process level. So these properties can be of primitive types like boolean, integer, date, time, long, password, or string, or also can use any available shared resource type. And the next one is fault handlers. These fault handlers are used to handle any runtime faults, and we can define some business logic to deal with these potential runtime errors. And there are two types, catch any specific fault or catch all faults. These can be defined at process level as well as scope level. When I say scope level, that is group level. So if you see this process, we have a bigger group which will have fault catch a specific fault which is file not found exception. It will only handle a file not found exception. If any other type of error occurs, then this fault handler will not be executed. And if you see inside this group, there is another catch all exceptions, which means if any exception occurs in these three activities, this fault handler is executed. Another point to be noted is error transitions can take precedence over the fault handlers. So if an error occurred in a scope, and it has fault handler and error transition. Then error transition is executed. Like I said, components are responsible for initiating the flow of any business application. Components are of two types: component services and component references. Component services are those which act as server-side implementation of any service, whereas component references act as a client-side implementation of any component service. Services can be majorly of two types, which are SOAP and REST-based services. SOAP are web services that use SOAP as a standard communication protocol for XML-based message exchanges, whereas REST is an architectural style for World Wide Web that is used to build services for distributed and networked applications. We'll see services and component services in more detail as we go through this course. So, in design time concepts, if you see the typical business studio for business works, will look like this. And we have seen most of these concepts in our previous videos as well. On the left hand side here we have a project explorer where we will see all the projects that are present in the workspace, and the bottom part is the file explorer, which is your local machine file explorer. You can open any folder you want to see it here using file explorer. And this canvas is called process editor, where we can build the processes. And like we have seen earlier, this is the palette, and and the bottom part will have related activities for the particular palette. Here it is showing http, and it has http receivers and http request and send http response. And the bottom part is configuration part, which will have properties and input output depending upon what activity you choose. And we can see the problems. And bw help is the online support for documentation, and console is used when we try to debug the application in your local machine. Okay, runtime concepts. We have app node, which is also called as BW app node, which is otherwise known as application node, which is an operating system process JVM that hosts and executes the BW CE applications. The framework layer is responsible for uh, ensuring all the dependencies that are required for the applications are present, whereas BW engine layer is used to host and execute the BW container edition applications. Process instance, sorry, process instance is execution of any process in that particular business works application. It will have an unique ID called process instance ID for each of the process that is executed as part of this application. Whereas job is the execution of a component process, which means the main process. And it will also have a unique ID referred to as job ID. The key difference between process instance and job is job will have job ID unique across the process instance that are part of the flow, and process instance will be will be unique for each of the process that is present as part of this flow. So subprocess will have process instance ID, whereas the main component process will have the job ID. For any additional references, you can visit docs.tipco.com. For more videos, stay tuned.